Good morning. How are you today? Welcome to a new class. Welcome to class number 1056. 1056. All right. Let's continue where we left off yesterday. And we left off on game fluency. Page 74 in the middle. Micro paragraph 406. No, seis. Wow. 666, el diablo, 666. Wow. Diablo de España encima. All right. In Spain, por favor, no digáis en Spain. Son tres sílabas. Son de in Spain. 1, 2. In Spain. No, in Spain. 1, 2, 3, no. In Spain. In Spain. Nos cuesta decir. En Spain, no. In Spain. In Spain. In Spain, people say pen drive. Y pensé, and I thought that was the word in English too. Then, when I was in the States, cuando estaba en Estados Unidos, se dice in the States, or in the U.S. Then when I was in the U.S., when I was in the States, people didn't understand me. There, they say memory stick or flash drive. All right. Fine. I need to remember this. Memory stick and flash drive. The next paragraph. Once in a restaurant in Rome, many of these paragraphs are my own experiences. Once in a restaurant in Rome, there was a German couple sitting at a table near ours. All right. Yes. When the waiter served the wine, the German man spent over a minute performing a tasting ritual. You know, in the restaurants, who's going to taste the wine? Here. Okay, you taste it. Maybe you smell it. Well, it depends. This man, this is true. I was noticing this German fellow. He looked at the color, the contact of the wine on the glass. And he went strong. And he was, okay. And then finally, it took him 1 minute. It was a ritual. It's just wine. I don't know. It was just wine. I mean, for me, in Spain, for example, red wine, the wine is very good. Maybe the best in the world. Of course, the wine in France, California, Italy, Argentina, Australia, the wines are very good. Okay, excellent wines. And in Spain, and in Portugal too. And in Texas, ahora Texas tiene negocio vinícola. But in any case, this German man in Rome, it was a ritual entero. Typically German, it was correct. But in any case, once in a restaurant in Rome, es poético eso, once in a restaurant in Rome, mucha R inglés aquí. Once in a restaurant in Rome, once upon a time, érase una vez. Once upon a time, there was a restaurant in Rome. There was a German couple, pareja alemana, sitting at a table near ours, cerca de la nuestra, esa mesa cerca de la nuestra, at a table near ours, near mine, near yours, near hers, near his, near theirs, near ours. Once in a restaurant in Rome, there was a German couple sentado. En inglés decimos sentándose. Sitting at a table near ours. Okay. When the waiter served the wine, the German man spent over a minute, más de un minuto, realizando un ritual, performing a tasting ritual. Yeah. No hay que pasarse, this is too much. But it's interesting. The more expensive the wine, the more likely it is that there's a problem with the wine. This is true. Cuanto más caro el vino, más conviene que lo pruebes. Pues muchos están picados ya. Because son más añejos, más viejos. And if there's a puncture in the cork or something, it happened. I remember I was invited by, my wife and I were invited to a very expensive restaurant in Madrid by another couple, they had a lot of money. And they brought the wine, and the man said, "Ooh, I'm not sure." He said, asked me to taste it. I tasted it. Yeah, it was pico. It was for sure. And it was an expensive bottle, maybe 100 euros or something, or 50. And so they took it back. They brought out another, the same label, etiquette, the same one. Take it out, pour it. Whoa, he said, "This is," and he asked me, and me, it was also. And so they ordered a different brand of wine, also very expensive. They brought, this time, yes. But it was the third time. I had never seen that in my life. And they opened $100, but these bottles were $100. But it was true. The wine was bad. And so they need to be careful with that. And I have found that to be true for expensive wines in restaurants. So sometimes, and it's frustrating because there's a lot of money, and the wine is bad. Of course, the wine before it became bad was excellent, but that happens sometimes. Once in a restaurant in Rome. Once in a restaurant in Rome. All right. There was a German couple sitting at a table near ours. When the waiter served the wine, the man spent over a minute. Más de un minuto. The German man spent over a minute performing a tasting ritual. Ritual. Ritos, los ritos de la primavera. The rites of spring. Escrito rite. Okay, paragraph 668, page 74. He shows up every once in a while just to check on things. Yeah. He's semi-retired, but still sits on the board. As the founder and CEO for 30 years, his visits still make the employees nervous. Okay, this is interesting. So this is a man who founded a company. Founded a company. Found es verbo regular. Founded. No lo confundas con encontrar. Find, found. He founded the company. This man founded the company. And for 30 years, he was the CEO. He was the CEO for 30 years. Aquí se dice CEO. Chief Executive. Desde hace 20 años se dice CEO. Antes se decía consejero delegado. All right. Chief Executive Officer. CEO. Ahora, if you're going to use the word CEO en inglés, el equivalente, CEO, las letritas, CEO, no lo hagas. No. Si mal pronuncias, no te entienden, aunque lo digas 100 veces seguidas. CEO. CEO. Escucha cómo lo digo yo. CEO. Hay una, CEO. Es como staccato. CEO. CE. Hay pausa pequeña entre la C y la E inglesa. CEO. CEO. And if you can't say it this way, don't say it. Say Chief Executive or Chief Executive Officer. Or managing director, que es lo mismo. Managing director. General manager es director general, pero el director general no está en el consejo. No es consejero. Consejero delegado es director. Director. Managing director es consejero con delegado. CEO. Si dices CEO, people will not understand you. They will not understand you. And it will be very frustrating. ¿Por qué me entienden? Es que estoy hablando del CEO. CEO, no caímos. CEO, the CEO. The CEO. Chief Executive. The Chief Executive, ante la duda, Chief Executive. ¿Quién es el CEO de esta compañía? Who's the Chief Executive? Officer lo puedes dejar. Who's the Chief Executive? Who's the big boss? Pero the big boss podría ser el presidente, si es ejecutivo del consejo. The executive president. Executive chairman. The chairman. But he shows up every once in a while to check on things. He's semi-retired, but still sits on the board. As the founder and CEO for 30 years, his visits still make the employees nervous. It's interesting. So this man was the founder of the company, and for 30 years he was the CEO. Now he's not. However, he is still a member of the board. Sigue estando en el consejo. But he's not involved in the management. However, every once in a while, every so often, every now and then, occasionally, from time to time, he visits the company. And when he does, the employees get nervous. So apparently he was a tough boss. And the employees get nervous. Escucha, he shows up every once in a while just to check on things. Esta frase es súper inglesa. Una frase inglesa. O sea, súper normal. He shows up. Aparece de vez en cuando. He shows up every once in a while. Every once in a while means de vez en cuando. De cuando en cuando. He shows up. He turns up. He appears. No sé si appear. Eso más bien con abracadabra. Aquí estoy. He appears. He shows up. Every once in a while. Just to check on things. Solo para comprobar, ver las cosas. To check. Just to check on things. Yes. He's semi-retired. Semi-retirado, semi-jubilado. He is semi-retired. Se admite la pronunciación semi. Semi-retired. He's semi-retired, but still sits on the board. Todavía se sienta en el consejo. Se dice to sit. Miembro del consejo. He still sits on the board. He is still a member of the board. As the founder and CEO, como fundador y CEO, as the founder and CEO for 30 years, sus visitas, his visits still make the employees nervous. Ya está, hoy está. He's still here. So apparently he instilled fear in the people, maybe. Okay, so his visits still make the employees nervous. Este párrafo, la primera frase. He shows up every once in a while just to check on things. Esta frase. This is how we speak English. Así hablamos en inglés. He shows up every once in a while just to check on things. All right. The next paragraph. 600 y algo, ¿no? 669. 669. You can tell somebody was here 10 minutes ago. You can tell. Se nota, se ve, se percibe, se siente que alguien ha estado aquí hace 10 minutos. You can tell. You can tell somebody was here less than 10 minutes ago. The frying pan is still a little warm. Yeah. Oh, the frying pan. No es una sartén. Supongamos que sí. Let's pretend let's pretend this is a frying pan, okay? Okay, I'm coming to the house. Nobody here. I see a frying pan. Put my hand. Oh, still a little warm. Un poco de calor todavía. So, you can tell somebody was here less than 10 minutes ago. The frying pan is still a little warm. Okay. And there's a slight smell of bacon in the air. Yes, permeated with the smell of bacon. Yeah. Let's check the bedroom. Comprobemos el dormitorio. Let's check the bedroom. A lo mejor está ahí. Maybe he's under the bed. Maybe he's hiding. Maybe he's in the closet. Maybe he's under the bed. Maybe he's on the ceiling, como Spider-Man mirando abajo. So when if you're going to investigate Spider-Man's house, always look at the ceilings as well. He can be up there. But people don't look up. It's true. It doesn't occur to you when you're looking for something to look up. You see, a person can be up at the ceiling and you don't see them. I lived in a house for 7 years in which there were beams in the roof. Era una bóveda y con maderos. Yeah, you can be up there and look down at everybody and nobody looks. It doesn't occur to anybody to look up. All right, to look up. So, you can tell. No es usted puede decir. You can tell means se nota. Se nota por el olor y por la sartén. You can tell somebody was here less than 10 minutes ago. The frying pan is still hot. A little warm. Un poco calentito. It's not cold. The frying pan is still a little warm. And there's a slight smell of bacon in the air. Let's check the bedroom. Let's check the bedroom. All right. Maybe he's there. And finally, how much time do I have left? Okay, good. At the bottom of page 74. When I was 15, I delivered newspapers to 72 houses in my neighborhood between 4 and 5 every morning. Everyone was asleep except one man who was always on his porch waiting for me. Otra vez, true story. When I was 15, I was a paper boy. ¿Te acuerdas? I was a paper boy. And what's a paper boy? Un chico de papel. No, un chico de los periódicos. Newspaper. The newspaper is el periódico, pero solemos decir el paper. The paper. Yes. And the paper boy, this is true. For about 8 or 9 months, every morning, when I was 15, I got up at 3:30, 3:30 de la mañana. I got up at 3:30. I went downstairs to the garage and got my bike. And I went, no, my bike, no, not in the garage, porque no quería subir. No, because my parents were sleeping upstairs, above the garage. So I imagine I kept my bike outside. And so I got on my bike and I rode my bike downhill, 3 or 4 minutes to the primary school in that neighborhood. And when I got there, there were maybe 3 or 4 other boys like me with their bikes. Now my bicycle had a big basket in the front and 2 baskets on each side of the back wheel. So I had 3 baskets. And at about 3:40, 20 minutes to 4 in the morning, this was in the middle of the night, a car came and the man parked the car, got out, opened the trunk, and took out, boom, newspapers. in a big packet with a string. And then he closed the trunk, got back into the car, and drove away to other places. And myself and the 2 or 3 other boys, we got our bundle of newspapers, and cut the string. Then we had rubber bands or gomitas, elásticas, and so we had rubber bands, 80 rubber bands, and we folded those newspapers, like this, and we put them into the basket. 72, boom, 72 times. So it was about 10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes, and finally had 72 in the back, and in the big basket in the front. I put 72 newspapers, and then I started pedaling, uphill. No mucho, pero algo. Because it's heavy, It was very heavy. 72 newspapers. I was pedaling. And I had a route, a logical route. And so I'd throw the newspaper while I was moving. So it was the bike was moving, and I was throwing the newspaper to the porch of the house in front of the door. Okay. Now it was a bit dangerous because 1 meter to the left or 1 meter to the right, you had windows. And below you had bushes, arbustos. And so you don't want to break a window at 4 o'clock in the morning. And you don't want it to fall into the bushes, because then the person can't find the newspaper. When they open the door in the morning with their coffee, where's the newspaper? And it's in the bushes. So sometimes you have to stop the bike, walk up, get out of the bushes and put it on the porch. Fine. I never broke a window. Never broke a window. And I learned how, yendo a cierta velocidad, 10 kilometers por hora, onto the porch. And it was between 4 o'clock and 5 o'clock in the morning, basically. I was delivering the newspapers. And, of course, everybody was asleep, except one house, always one house. And this house was near the end of my route, mi ruta, casa número 55 o 60 of the 72. And he was always waiting in his bathrobe, su albornoz. He was standing on the porch. And he was never smiling. He was impatient, waiting for his news. And so it was a dilemma, because I didn't want to throw it and hit him. He was standing on the porch. That's my target. So I often got off the bike, went up and gave it to him. Because if I rode the bike up close, I could ride the bike up onto pero era su césped. I was not going to damage the grass on his front yard. And so I usually stopped and gave it to him. All right. And I thought, how can I rearrange my route so he is at the beginning of the route and not near the end? But geographically it was complicated. So for, even on Saturday and Sunday, because I had to do this on Saturday and Sunday too, 7 days a week. And I made $60 a month. $60, 2 horas día. $60 al mes. Okay. I did it because I wanted it. I didn't need the money. But I wanted to do it. It was cool. Okay, no. When I was 15, I delivered newspapers to 72 houses in my neighborhood between 4 and 5 every morning. Everyone was asleep except one man who was always on his porch waiting for me. All right. He was always on my porch, waiting for me. Yes. That was a tough job. Eh? That was a tough job. We have 1 minute. And I'm going to talk about Nigel Perkins. Y ha resuelto un crimen este hombre. Eh? Yeah. Su agencia. His detective agency. Nigel Perkins has achieved another success. Ha logrado otro éxito. Un hito. Hito. He has achieved another success. His company has just presented proof of a crime. Okay. His company, which is a detective agency for insurance companies, has just presented to the police proof of a crime. Por eso, el policía londinense le está diciendo bien hecho. All right. ¿Se ve? Yeah? All right. He said very well. He has just presented proof, evidence of a crime. But I'll tell you more about this crime tomorrow.